Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Weekly Awakening podcast. It is your host, Cosmic Colleen. I hope everyone is enjoying the descent into Aries season. Spring, sunshine, again up here in the Philadelphia area. Spring is kicking off, the sun is kicking off, and my schedule is getting very, very busy, which happens when the sun moves into Aries. We're also going to talk about Mars squaring Uranus this week, Mercury conjoining Jupiter, and then Mercury conjoining Neptune. It definitely is a dreamy, kind of lost feeling week, especially coming off after last week. Okay, I just want to remind everyone, please follow me on all social media accounts if you want to keep up with your daily astrology transits, when these episodes come out, whatever it is. I post a lot of daily videos on there. Some extra content that you might not just hear on this podcast. Every week I try to get the majority of it. However, on Twitter, on Instagram, I'll kind of throw some other things out there as the day goes on. You know, as I'm living in that day, I'm like, okay, let me see. Oh, this is how this transit's going to play out. So Cosmic Colleen, 1C, cross the board, _ on Twitter. That is it. Very simple, Cosmic Colleen. And if you want to know how you can support the show right now, the best way is to send this to people, subscribe, rate, review, post about it on social media. All of you continue to do that for me. And then I'm just so grateful for that. So thank you. And thank you every time that you guys say, hey, I love your episode. This helped me. That just helps give me more fire and fuel to keep doing these. This is the 125th episode. I can't believe it. When COVID had happened 2 years ago, for those who are new to my show, where, you know, it's been 2 years since COVID, I had already released this show, and it was the Hair Healer podcast, and I had released 20 episodes with my clients at the time, and we had recorded in 2019, and I released them at the beginning of 2020. Definitely go back and check out some of those older episodes. They're kind of fun. But yeah, interviews with my clients at the salon, and then COVID had happened, and that kind of began the first shift of the show, because I can't interview my clients right now really from home. Let me open up to people all over the world. So then I did the quarantine series. So if you go back after those, starting around episode 23, you'll see the Hair Healer podcast COVID quarantine specials, I think I called them. And it's been a year since that, and I can't believe it's evolved. 2 years since then, how much it has evolved. I can't believe I'm still doing this show. Because I love it and passion. So it's awesome. Definitely go check out some of those episodes. I hope everyone had a great week, a good full moon last week. I talked a lot about it being a very mutable, forgiving, yet intense full moon. And something that I talked a little bit about last week, but definitely showed up in my life in sort of a funny way, and we'll talk about Uranus transit, is we had Venus squared Uranus last week, and it perfected on Saturday. On Friday, I guess I could feel it a little bit too. I think we all were kind of feeling it. However, the Capricorn moon and I got into this big fight on Saturday, and it was playing more. He has a 12th house Venus in Taurus, and so is, Uranus is in there, so it's playing a little bit more out him. It's something that he did wrong, and then reflected into me, and my chart. And it was a cool experience because, again, over a year into dating this person, and I shared it a couple weeks ago, I'm not running. Like when something goes bad or whatever, I'm not running. I'm learning to forgive, understand, because whatever mistakes he makes, I also make the same, not different mistakes, but I make just as many mistakes. So it was very, when we have Uranus, and we'll talk about Mars squaring Uranus because you might have some fights with people. Venus squared Uranus, there was this disruption, right? It was like something really stupid happened. He did something stupid, and it kind of instantly created this out of the blue reaction from me. From him, he was kind of like, oh my God, that's so stupid. Why, and it blew up, right? And it was definitely when we have Uranus, we have a very sense of like, out of the blue, shocking, disruption, chaos. And we had Venus, which loves joy and pleasure and creativity and fun and warmth. And so it was almost like our normal love or joy or pleasures were disrupted by something out of the blue. However, it moves fast with that. Venus moves fast. Oftentimes, I think Venus square Uranus aren't as strong or as crazy as Mars squaring Uranus. And plus, again, we have a nice moon. So it all worked out. But that got me thinking just about understanding and forgiveness, right? As I learned to have even though I was married a couple times, I always say like my first adult relationship with this person, because I was an inner child having these past relationships with other people, is like we work through it and we talk, and he's just so good at that. And so like, we've been through something like this before. We're going to be through that, and we'll be going through each thing. And it's taught me to grow up. And so I had this own where I sat there. I'm like, okay, this will pass. We both love to communicate and we don't hold on to things. So it did. And then by the next day, I thought, okay, we forgive. And then I'm going to probably be needed to be forgiven from him next week. Who knows what it is, but finding that balance in relationships. So this is our mini early weekly awakening, then we'll get into the rest of the transits after the weekend. If you're in a relationship, friendship, partnerships, forgive, practice forgiving, and understand that you are going to be wrong as well sometimes. So if you want to be forgiven for your mistakes, you have to be able to forgive other people for theirs. That's one thing that I have learned in life that I know is true. If you want to be forgiven for yours, you have to forgive others for theirs. Now, it depends. If it's something really horrific, obviously there might be some moving on, but we are humans having a spiritual experience, and that spiritual experience is about evolving, is about creating awareness, and in that comes the ugly stuff, because we don't create awareness by just having joy all day long. Unfortunately, when we're having joy all day long, we're usually oblivious to things, or we're in the moment. It's the pain and the struggles that come that we have that messy part of growth. And then each time we go over there, we grow again. And after I had this kind of disruptive fight a little bit, and it was more disruptive for him too, because then I reacted in this sort of little child way, and I wouldn't speak to him for 15 hours or something, but he kept apologizing. And then I was like, okay, we'll move beyond whatever the stupid little fight is. That is what life is about. That is what relationships are about. And that is where I failed many times, whether it comes friendships, relationships, is when I shared again about this before. I have this sort of block. When it happens, I shut down, and I want to cut you out of my life instantly and never look back. And that was my childhood. That is what I seen. That is what I was taught. And it's cool how the universe, when you ascend to a higher place, brings you something. He brought me this person to learn how to be in a really adult relationship, among many reasons. So if you find yourself in a fight or past this weekend, this past weekend, this forward weekend, forgive that person, because remember, you're going to need to be forgiven also. All right, so we'll move on to that. That was last week. Not too bad. It was a great new moon. We had St. Patrick's Day. I had a lot of fun last week too. All right, let's talk about Mercury conjoined Jupiter. That really perfected yesterday, and I had a great day for the most part with my kids. We had Mercury, who's not happy, right, in Pisces, conjoining Jupiter, where Jupiter is happy. So there was this kind of strong sense of just easy and joy, communion. My kids were great. Everything went smooth. My drive went smooth. My communicating with my kids went smooth. All of these little things went smooth. Yesterday, and I'll share another story, I went into my son's classroom and I talked about what I do for a job. I talked about hair, astrology, and having this podcast. So we started out with astrology at first, which is very Mercury conjoining Jupiter. And they were so funny. They're all 8-year-olds, and they loved it. They were like, oh my God, what's my sign? What's this? What's my parent? I kept it very basic, very sun sign. And as we're talking about, I kept talking about Aries, this little girl is sitting there and she's just shaking her head. Not me. Not me. And then she raises her hand. She said, I just want to let you know that none of that sounds like me. And I said, well, I'm willing to bet that's because you're a rising Capricorn and a Mercury in Capricorn. And she just looked at me. She had no idea what to say. I could tell, though, that, and I tell my friend that, and she said, well, what does that mean? Capricorns. And I know I have a good friend, Capricorn, Joseph, who's listening, and some other people on there listening right now. They can have a harder time with making sense of something they can't physically prove, touch, see, feel, hear. Ruled by Saturn, they're very non-bullshit, where are the facts? What is right in front of me? I don't believe in all that. They're very grounded, very nature. Now, if you're a Capricorn, like Joseph, or people who believe stuff, it takes a while. They might have some other planets in Pisces or whatever other things that make them more. But however, most Capricorn risings, usually I get the questioning from the most, I would say. Again, unless they're like a Sag rising. I have another Capricorn friend who's a Capricorn with Sag rising, who's like, and a Sag moon, who's the most spiritually led people. That and Tauruses, believe it or not, I get a lot of throwback from people with Taurus rising, who are kind of like, I don't know about that. The people that question, again, those two signs, Taurus and Capricorn, question what they can't see, feel, hear, or touch. They need the facts and they need it right there in front of them. So that was kind of a fun thing to do yesterday. Feeling more spiritually centered this week. Yesterday, wanting to put more spiritual practices, more optimistic responses. That's kind of leading off the week. We'll feel it today. People responding with a more opportune, giving you opportunities, being optimistic, saying, understanding, peaceful conversations or agreements, coming to agreements. With Mercury, we look at agreements with people. So there might be some conflict that was peacefully brought together. Today, the moon's in Sagittarius, though. So adding to that flavor, Jupiter's flavor, I think this is a good day to do a cleansing, or this whole week, do a spring clean, cleansing and cleaning ritual in your room. Start with positive affirmations today, tomorrow, if you haven't been doing them. Take today to do that. Connect mind, soul with, what did I write? I wrote my notes. Oh yeah, connect mind, soul with your environment. Are they matching? This is what I meant by that. Look at your mind, look at your soul, look at your body. What does it need, right? In order for it to thrive, it needs a very healthy environment for you. We all have different types of environments. What's important to our environments? It needs a very happy, healthy environment for you. So take a look. Are they matching? Is your body, your mind, your soul, what it needs to thrive in, to relax in, to just be in, is it matching with your environment? And by that, it means maybe the people in your environment, in your life, is that matching? Is the decor matching? Is your life in chaos, but your house is also in chaos? So if you want your mind, body, and soul to be a little more together, your house might be a little more together. I say that one for me. That's totally me all the time. That's where I struggle, is keeping my house together. See if your mind, soul is matching with your environment. Again, the overall mood today will feel more positive, faith-filled, understanding. And then tomorrow we have which is Wednesday, we have Mercury conjoining Neptune. Again, Mercury isn't happy in Pisces. It's a little bit wonky in Pisces. So that is why there might be some wonkiness that comes with, because Neptune is happy in Pisces, but Mercury is not. So when they conjoin, let's start with the positives. Our psychic abilities, our intuition will be very, very high. So if any of that happens, trust and believe it is going to be very high. However, we're also going to be more open to dream worlds, maybe being way more creative when this transit happens, harnessing our creativity in some way, and just being in an overall dreamy world. This is kind of like a good day to say, I'm just going to relax, get my friend, maybe we'll travel up to the woods, go hiking, meditate. That's like a positive of this transit to do today, this weekend. But there's also fear, confusion, and hidden truths that come out. When we meet Neptune, is the planet of our illusions and our delusions, and Mercury is our thinking and our communicating. So there may be some sort of lie you catch someone in, or maybe you see your own lies. Maybe you caught yourself and you say, oh my God, why did I just lie right there? Maybe you see you're revealed your own hidden truths, something that you were hiding, or that you weren't wanting to see in someone. There's a lot of that. I find when Mercury conjoins Neptune, there's a lot of, I didn't want to see that in that person. I had been ignoring that red flag. I've been ignoring all of that, and now I can't ignore it anymore. The veil has dropped. That usually is a big Mercury-Neptune dynamic. There's many different ways that this plays out. So I'm always interested when you guys listen to this, if you see how it played out in your life, let me know. Email me, comment on there, comment on my Instagram. Let me know. I'm very curious how this all plays out with you guys. So a lot of hidden truths, illusions, delusions. This is happening in my house of marriage opposite my own environment. So it could play out tomorrow with my Capricorn moon. Maybe there's something I see or whatever, or could play out in myself. Oftentimes the seventh house is of others, our relationship of others, but also our reflection of ourselves through others. So that could play out with me seeing my own bullshit through someone else. Or maybe he will call out my BS. That is how that plays. And I'll be interested. I'll let you guys know next week how that plays out in my life. So remember, it's a good time to feel peace, understanding, get lost in dreams. But if there's a truth that is revealed to you that you don't even like, especially the ones that you don't like or you don't want to believe that are uncomfortable, that's being shown to you for a reason. Don't ignore it. That's all I can say. Don't ignore it when this happens. Whatever message that Mercury brings in here, don't ignore the message. Then we got the moon on Thursday moving into Capricorn. So, the moon is not happy in Capricorn. So I just feel like can be a little bit like, it's a beautiful beginning, dreamy week. And at the end of the week, it might be like, someone who partied from Sunday to Wednesday. And then on Thursday, they have to get up and have responsibilities. That's kind of what it's going to feel like. You're all of a sudden in this dreamy lost world, having fun, just going with your flow. And then all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, ugh. This is what I got to do today. I don't want to do that. I'm kind of cranky. I'm kind of this way and disciplined. So, I wouldn't suggest Wednesday night that you go out to the bar and go crazy and then like take acid from someone and then go play in the woods. That would be horrible. That would be like then you'd wake up the next day hanging off a cliff naked and no idea how to get out of the woods now that the moon is in Capricorn. So just FYI, go into the woods, but don't go in there tripping and getting naked or anything like that. That might be a little crazy. So finishing out the week, it kind of started at the beginning of this weekend, the end of this past weekend. Going to go until Friday. It's pretty much tomorrow. Right now we're feeling it the most intense, Mars squaring Uranus. Chaos, disruption, impulsiveness, recklessness, out of the box reactions from yourself where it's like, wait, why am I acting like this? Why am I acting crazy? We got two malefics, right? Mars squaring Uranus, which is also considered a malefic, not a very, a more harder planet. When this happens, we might find in ourselves, and again, not every transit is so major. They play out in small, subtle ways also. This could be you just, your neighbor, you heard your neighbors fighting outside and you've never heard them fighting. And, the one goes out and smashes the other's car. Something like that would be very Mars and Uranus. It could just play out like that. It doesn't even necessarily need to be directly with you. It could be around in the surroundings. And I like to remind you guys that because I know sometimes when I talk about the bad things, it can sound scary, and it's not always like that because we have a lot of bad transits every week and not a lot of horrible things are happening. So it's these small, subtle ways as well as they play out. Again, disruption, chaos, maybe something in the workplace. If you feel anger, try to leave, try to meditate, try to walk somewhere else, try to leave the situation because you might be quick to anger again and acting in ways that you should not have acted or that you normally don't act out. And disruption, chaos, impulsiveness. Remember, a lot came to me about out of the box reactions. So if you catch yourself, I'm telling you now the warning, and you're like, all right, this is getting a little heated, walk away. Because you might have such a reaction that the next day you're like, oh my God, why would I have ever reacted like that? I overreacted. With Mars square Uranus, a lot of overreaction can happen. Whew. Another dynamic week in the planetary system. And like I said, for those, I like to remind you that are new to my show, every day the planets show us. Something moves in the planet and something and transits and hits another planet. Two planets react, and then that creates a ripple effect in us, in the collective, and everyone around us. As I started studying astrology many years ago, what I realized that made the most sense, that life is always ever changing. We have this moment, it's changing moment to moment, day to day. We have no idea why things happen to us, why we act certain ways, why things doesn't happen to us. However, when you start watching your daily astrology charts, even just yourself, all of a sudden, every little thing, I shit you not, lines up with astrology. Even from I knew that I kind of knew that something was going to happen this weekend, but I wasn't. Like, it's so funny with Rob, like, it caught me off blue, even though I was prepared. I'm like, okay, when there's Uranus transits with Venus or Mercury, Rob and I sometimes get into fights. That has shown almost every time that it is perfected. This whole year, Uranus perfected with something, Rob and I got into major fights. It's kind of funny about that. But when you see that, you can see how your life has this roadmap, and it's triggered. I don't know why it is or why it isn't, but when we pay attention to the stars up there, to the planets, which are the same as this, it lines up. Now I'm going to share and end this episode with a news article. I never read the news, but sometimes something interesting will pop up on my computer, and it said, Miami Beach declares a state of emergency and opposes midnight curfew as spring breakers wreak havoc on the city. Exhausted cops demand an end to partying and release videos of crowds swarming their it's not funny, but swarming their vehicles after 4 officers were injured. This was just this past starting Sunday, going into this week. They now have an effect for South Beach from midnight to 6 a.m. There were shootings this weekend. There were, and this week, they had taken already 100 guns seized. There's a lot of craziness happening in Miami, so that is a very good collective to talk about with this week. Mercury conjoined Jupiter. This came out today, and yesterday there was a really big chaos, right? So we have Mercury ruling, who is not happy in the water sign of Pisces, right? So the beach, we'll talk about the beach. When you see water, you can use, especially Cancer and Pisces, you can go to water, the beach, those things, conjoining Jupiter, which is abundance, and it's happy, and it's growth, and it's big, but Mercury is not. Mercury rules travel, our communications, our thoughts. When those combined yesterday on a collective scale, it blew up this crowd. And they wreaked havoc all over. So it was all of a sudden, and they said on here they could not stop these people swarming all over their cars. So a depressed Mercury conjoined with Jupiter. And then Mercury's about to conjoin with Neptune this week. And we have Mars squaring Uranus. It all of a sudden just got crazy. Mercury ruled all the crazy people, all the party goers, the drugs, the getting out of yourself, which is very Neptunian as well. Jupiter creating the abundance, and Mercury just floating around. So that's, if you're new to astrology and you want to learn, these are 2 suggestions I suggest to people. 1, get a book and start following the moon. The moon is the easiest. It changes every day. It changes signs every 2.5 days, and it rules your environment, your fluctuations through fortune, your deep subconscious emotions, and those things you can easily track. And because it changes so much, you can really get a good idea. Even just how the zodiac how the zodiac really works when planets are in it. Also, when we go over these transits, see what's in the news. I'm not a big news watcher, you guys know that at all. However, something will catch my eye like this did, and I will already know, that's related to this planetary astrology. So if you want to get a better idea of how planets work in transits with each other, when Mercury is squaring Uranus, look at somewhat of the news articles and more like the world news and what big is happening, because you'll see it, and then that gives you a better idea. So now when Mercury conjoins Jupiter, when Mercury's debilitated and joining Jupiter, it can make masses of people think and create, think in a kind of crazy way and create an overabundance of something. So that's just a little tip for my babes out there. All right. I hope everyone has a great week. It's getting warmer. I'm ready for the warmth. I'm ready for the sunshine. I'm ready for all of it. Oh yeah, Aries season. I guess I'll talk about that next week. I didn't really talk. But when Aries season comes, the sun is exalted. The sun is happy. The sun is moving, and it's associated with kind of getting busy and on the move and new and growth and understanding. So a lot of you, our lives are all sort of going to start to kick off and get really busy again. But that is it. I hope everyone has a great week. I love you all. Thank you for the continued support, listening to this episode, listening to everything. I love you all, and I hope you have a fabulous week. Thank you. Goodbye.